Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're undertaking a truly expansive mission, one that stretches across a century of ambition.
It really is.
We are diving deep into Pakistan's Vision 2047.
Uh,
And this isn't just about, reviewing history. It's about analyzing a national roadmap, one explicitly crafted to project a country onto the global stage precisely at its 100th anniversary.
and the context of our source material is vital here. I think it's crucial for you, the listener, to understand the framework we're exploring. We're drawing from excerpts of the book series, The Generals of Pakistan, authored by Mr. Zaheer Ahmad Meer.
Right. And Mr. Meer isn't just an author. He's a constitutional and corporate lawyer, a historian, and maybe most importantly for our discussion, he's the founder of the Pakistan Zindabad, the Next World Superpower project.
And that title alone really sets the stage, doesn't it?
It absolutely gives us the immediate lens through which we have to view this deep dive. The work is fundamentally patriotic, it's scholarly, and it positions the military leadership, the generals, not just as historical figures, but as the central, consistent architects of national destiny.
Precisely. So our mission today is laser-focused. We are analyzing this specific, very aggressive strategic Vision 2047 by breaking down the historical contributions that the source material attributes to key generals.
The idea being to show how the source argues that the groundwork for global power was laid not randomly, but through decades of disciplined, successive strategy.
Exactly. It's a narrative of intention.
The overarching theme here is what the source calls the 100-year vision. In 2047, Pakistan completes a century. The source describes this evolution as a transformation, a move from a state born of faith and struggle into a defined, technologically advanced global power.
And in this narrative, the military is explicitly positioned as the architect of continuity.
That phrase, architect of continuity, that's so important here. Let's unpack that a little.
Well, the continuity argument is what really defines this entire perspective. It suggests that major national policies and strategic goals are not, simply subject to the whims of political fluctuations every 4 or 5 years.
Which happens in so many countries.
All the time. Instead, this source argues they form a decades-long disciplined trajectory where the military provides the essential stability, the institutional memory, if you will, needed to maintain that course, regardless of who is in civilian government.
So Vision 2047 itself is presented as more than just a plan. The source calls it a promise.
A promise, yes. Aiming for a stronger, smarter, and sovereign Pakistan that, by its centennial, aims to lead the world in 3 key areas: faith, technology, and resilience.
Faith, technology, and resilience. Those really become the core pillars.
They become the metrics of success in this vision. To be resilient, you need strong foundations. To be technological, you need modernization. And to maintain global influence, the source argues you need a defined moral compass.
So today, we need to meticulously break down the historical influences outlined in the source that allegedly laid the specific foundations for each of these really lofty goals.
That's the plan.
Okay, let's unpack this ambitious journey. We'll start with Section 1, laying the foundations, blueprints, and disciplined economies. If the military is the architect, we have to start with the foundational blueprint, right?
You have to.
And for that, we begin with Field Marshal Ayub Khan.
This era, in the source's view, is really the genesis of institutional planning in Pakistan. It establishes the foundational belief that progress for a new state has to start with tangible, measurable planning. You have to move away from purely political aspirations to concrete national capacity building.
The source gets very specific here, detailing the focus areas of the Ayub Khan era. We're talking about massive investments in industry, infrastructure, and crucially, large-scale irrigation projects.
That's right. And the core claim here, the big takeaway from the source, is that he gave Pakistan its first developmental blueprint.
So it's not just that he built things, it's the strategic function the source attributes to those things.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating in the source's analysis is how it links physical infrastructure. Dams like the Mangla Dam, the massive irrigation networks, how it links them directly to political stability and national destiny.
So this developmental blueprint wasn't just a list of suggestions.
Not at all. It was about creating the physical, self-sufficient capacity for a modern, resilient state to function. It was about building the machine itself.
So let's go deeper into that. Why does the source dedicate so much space to these physical structures, dams and canals?
Because they embody permanence. I mean, think about it. Infrastructure needs power, industry needs resources, and agriculture, especially in a region that's prone to drought and and seasonal shifts needs water management. It's the bedrock of everything else.
So the argument is that by investing heavily in these decades-long infrastructure projects, Ayub Khan's government was essentially trying to make economic growth immune to short-term political cycles.
That's the argument. It was an institutional commitment to economic stability, providing that continuity we talked about, but in physical form, in concrete and steel.
That makes the core lesson attributed to this era incredibly powerful. Progress begins with planning. This isn't just a historical observation in the source, is it?
No, it's presented as a foundational principle. The source analysis insists that his dams, his plans, his institutions, they are explicitly cited as still standing today as the foundation for every single future roadmap mentioned in the Vision 2047 document.
The continuity factor is just paramount then.
It's everything to this argument. I mean, think about a modern challenge like climate change. When the source talks about modern plans like Green Pakistan much later in the Vision, which is this massive initiative focused on sustainable agriculture, it's arguing that the possibility of such a plan even exists only because the foundational irrigation systems and reservoirs were engineered and built during Ayub Khan's era.
Without that capacity.
Green Pakistan would be little more than a fantasy, a nice idea on paper with no way to implement it.
So for you, the listener, try and understand this 2047 framework. This early disciplined planning in large-scale infrastructure essentially underpins the whole modern concept of national resilience.
Yes.
It establishes the principle that long-term strength relies on solid, physical, self-sufficient foundations.
Exactly. And the source really emphasizes the disciplined aspect. These kinds of massive, multi-decade projects require immense capital, unwavering commitment, and let's be frank, centralized authority to execute them. They often have to overcome significant administrative inertia.
Which is where the military leadership comes in, according to the source.
In this view, yes. The stability provided by that leadership wasn't a byproduct. It was the essential condition required for executing these projects that they transcend typical political timeframes. The physical blueprint is the starting point for resilience, the first component of that 2047 promise.
Okay, that gives us a really clear understanding of the material foundation. Now, moving forward into Section 2, the narrative shifts, and it shifts dramatically. We go from physical and economic structure to ideology and values, focusing on General Zia-ul-Haq.
It's a huge pivot.
We move from building dams to defining the moral compass of the nation. How does the source justify this pivot? It seems like such a different direction.
Well, the justification is strategic. The source's argument is that a global power needs more than just physical infrastructure and industry. It needs a defined, unifying, guiding purpose. Without a coherent national identity and moral framework, economic success risks fragmenting the society, which, that makes the state vulnerable.
So let's elaborate on the specific claims here about the restoration of Pakistan's moral compass under Zia-ul-Haq. The source points to rooting national policies explicitly in Islamic values, thereby linking faith with governance.
This is obviously a complex period, but the source analyzes it through the lens of strategic purpose. Linking faith and governance meant institutionalizing an ideological framework, not just in, say, personal law, but often in national policy and the education system.
And the goal of that was?
The source argues this provided an immutable sense of identity and direction for the masses, which is seen as vital for maintaining national unity, especially during times of geopolitical turbulence.
The analysis in the source focuses very heavily on the dual outcomes attributed to this period. It claims that under Zia-ul-Haq, Pakistan became both a fortress of Islam and simultaneously a regional power. That's a massive set of claims.
It is. Let's group those down according to the source's narrative. Becoming a fortress of Islam implies an intense focus on ideological purity, defense of religious principles, and moral coherence. The source posits this ideological clarity generated internal strength.
Okay, and the regional power part.
Simultaneously, being recognized as a regional power implies geopolitical influence and strategic depth, particularly when you consider the context of the Cold War and the proximity to the conflict in Afghanistan at the time. The source essentially ties ideological firmness directly to geopolitical leverage.
I see the challenge here for the narrative, though. The source is arguing for continuity, yet the kind of economic liberalization favored by Ayub Khan seems ideologically, very distinct from the focus on spiritual revival under Zia.
It does.
So how does the source reconcile these shifts under the banner of a unified generational plan?
And that is the core point the source aims to answer. It does so through its central lesson for this era, which is strength without faith is directionless faith gives purpose to power.
Oh, great.
The continuity in the source's eyes is maintained by the goal of resilience and power. Ayub Khan provided the foundational tools, the economy, the infrastructure, but Zia-ul-Haq provided the reason why the nation should use those tools. He provided the purpose.
So the goal of 2047 isn't just a powerful nation, it's a moral nation.
Exactly. This ideological grounding is framed as preventing the national trajectory from becoming purely materialistic or, directed by external forces. It keeps the compass pointing inward.
So this section directly provides the philosophical scaffolding for Vision 2047. How does this focus on moral and ideological revival connect directly to the first pillar of Vision 2047, which is explicitly faith and national unity?
The connection is absolute and intentional. Pillar 1 of the 2047 roadmap is centered on moral, ideological, and spiritual revival. The source views Zia-ul-Haq's policies as providing the ideological template, the foundational values, that future global leadership must be built upon.
Without that moral compass.
The technological and economic strides planned for 2047 would be, in the source's explicit words, directionless and ultimately unsustainable. It's presented as the source of the national cohesion required to underpin the entire vision.
This brings us to Section 3, where the narrative takes another sharp turn toward modernization. We shift dramatically from moral policy to a technological revolution under General Pervez Musharraf. We jump from the spiritual fortress to the digital dawn.
And this pivot, I think, highlights the source's argument that strategic continuity doesn't mean stagnation. It's not about being stuck in the past.
Right.
After providing the physical foundations with Ayub and the ideological direction with Zia, the next logical step in this narrative is modernizing the national toolset to compete globally. A strong ideology, in this view, demands the best available technology to defend and propagate it.
So let's detail the specific economic and technological changes that were initiated during this time and how the source views them. We're talking about a massive telecom revolution, significant IT expansion, and broad economic liberalization.
The scope of the change was transformative. Before this era, access to technology was extremely limited. The source highlights that the deregulation of the telecom sector and the introduction of mobile communications were absolutely critical.
That democratization of communication.
That's the perfect word for it. It laid the essential groundwork for a massive digital leap, integrating vast portions of the population into the modern communication grid for the first time. Then, economic liberalization complemented this by opening up new sectors to private and often foreign investment, specifically in services and technology.
And the societal impact is cited as perhaps the most crucial element here. The source credits these actions with creating the new middle class that powers today's Pakistan.
And that's a pivotal claim for the 2047 vision, a middle class built on technology, on services, on entrepreneurial innovation. It's fundamentally different from one based solely on, say, physical labor or state jobs.
How so?
This new digitally fluent middle class drives consumption, it demands better governance, and it becomes the essential consumer and producer base required for a modern digital economy. The source views this new class as the dynamic engine of the current state, necessary for scaling up technological ambition.
The governance aspect is also highlighted. The source credits Musharraf with making technology the bridge between governance and the people. What does that look like in practice, according to this narrative?
In practice, it means technology was actively used to increase transparency, to streamline administration, and to improve citizen service delivery. It's the precursor to all the modern e-governance initiatives we see today.
Like the computerized ID cards.
The introduction of computerized national ID cards is a perfect example. It modernized the entire relationship between the citizen and the state. Using technology as a bridge directly supports the smarter component of the Vision 2047 promise, ensuring that the state infrastructure is efficient and responsive.
And the source's key takeaway from this era is arguably the most strategically profound. It states, digital transformation is the new independence.
It's a powerful statement.
If digital capacity is elevated to a matter of sovereignty, what are the modern strategic implications of that for a country that's planning to be a global power?
That phrase takes digital capacity far beyond mere convenience. It makes it a non-negotiable component of national security. In the 21st century, independence isn't just about defending physical borders with tanks and planes, right?
Right.
It's about controlling your data infrastructure, securing your national communication networks, and maintaining cyber sovereignty. If a state relies entirely on foreign digital infrastructure or platforms, its strategic autonomy is fundamentally compromised.
So by focusing on national digital transformation, the source is arguing Musharraf secured a new, essential form of strategic autonomy.
Yes, and one that directly feeds into Pillar 2 of Vision 2047, technology and defense innovation. It sets the stage for everything that comes next in the tech sphere.
So the Musharraf era sets the technical ambition. It provides the technological operating system, so to speak. That brings us right up to the present day in Section 4, the 21st century synthesis, which the source represents with Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir.
Okay.
We are now looking at how all those previous blueprints, ideological commitments, and digital foundations are being integrated into one unified, accelerated strategy.
The current phase, as presented by the source, is defined by the absolute merging of economic ambition with security strategy. It's the moment where the lessons of the past, Ayub's efficiency, Musharraf's technology, are leveraged for immediate, integrated, and disciplined growth toward that 2047 target.
Let's focus on the strategic initiative cited, starting with the biggest one, the biggest organizational claim, SIFC, the Special Investment Facilitation Council.
Right.
The source describes its function as merging the economy and security into one unified national agenda. We really need to elaborate on what that means, the mechanism of SIFC, according to this narrative.
Well, the creation of SIFC is viewed as the ultimate institutionalization of the military's role as that architect of continuity. It signifies a recognition that in complex geopolitical environments, particularly those reliant on massive foreign direct investment, or FDI, economic policy simply cannot be separated from national defense and strategic stability.
So what does it do in practice? What authority does it hold that allows it to bypass bureaucracy in the way the source suggests?
SIFC is designed to be a single window mechanism. It's meant to cut through the chronic bureaucratic red tape that so often plagues developing nations. According to the source, the SIFC structure grants high-level institutional oversight to investment projects, ensuring timely approvals and, crucially, guaranteed security for foreign investors, particularly from allied nations like China and the Gulf states.
So by unifying the economic and security agendas, the leadership is positioned to just streamline everything.
Yes, streamline execution. It ensures that major economic projects in areas like mining, agriculture, and IT are protected and executed efficiently, treating economic success as a core, measurable component of national security. It's an acceleration mechanism. It's designed to hit the 2047 deadlines.
That makes the national trajectory exceptionally disciplined. It's aligning business interests directly with state survival and rapid growth.
That's the idea.
Okay, alongside SIFC, we have the Green Pakistan Initiative. Can you detail this focus on driving sustainable agriculture and how it connects back to the very first section with Ayub Khan?
Green Pakistan is the quintessential example of historical continuity meeting modern necessity. It's a perfect loop. It takes Ayub Khan's foundational irrigation infrastructure and applies a 21st century sustainability and technology lens to it.
So you're integrating modern seeds, efficient water use.
Potentially even AI-driven farming techniques, yes. The source sees this initiative as vital for achieving the self-reliant component of Pillar 3. Ensuring domestic food security is presented as a non-negotiable prerequisite for achieving global power status.
It's about resilience again.
It directly speaks to the resilience component of the 2047 promise. The argument is simple. A strong nation must first be able to feed itself and feed itself sustainably.
The narrative also highlights a significant redefining of Pakistan's global role through strategic alliances under this current leadership. The source mentions alliances with China and the Gulf, and critically, alliances with the digital world.
And that's a fascinating distinction. The China and Gulf alliances represent traditional, powerful geopolitical partnerships, securing strategic trade corridors, energy supply, massive capital investment. These are the anchors of economic stability.
But the digital world alliance?
That's a direct callback to Musharraf's Digital Dawn. It means the strategic focus extends beyond physical borders and capital. It involves actively seeking partnerships in cutting-edge fields, AI, quantum computing, cyber technology, to ensure Pakistan not only participates, but leads in the global technology race by 2047.
This synthesis culminates in what the source calls the modern philosophy of power. And the ultimate lesson from this era is that future superpowers are built not by war, but by wisdom, innovation, and unity.
And that is the definitive bridge statement to the final roadmap. It marks a shift in strategic focus from sheer military dominance, though defense innovation remains critical, to soft power, strategic foresight, and internal cohesion enabled by technology.
So the argument is that economic and technological leadership, facilitated by internal unity in this this disciplined strategic wisdom, is the definitive modern path to global power.
Yes, and that's what differentiates it, in the source's view, from traditional models of expansionist power.
Okay, now that we've established the historical continuity Ayub's foundation, Zia's purpose, Musharraf's technology, and Munir's accelerated synthesis, let's spend some significant time detailing what this all means for the future. Let's look at the 4 explicit pillars of Vision 2047.
Right. This is where the continuity argument is formalized. The 4 pillars are presented not as new ideas, but as the strategic maturity. The logical end state of the lessons learned across the past 4 decades, explicitly tied together to form a comprehensive roadmap.
So let's start with Pillar 1, faith and national unity. This pillar focuses on moral, ideological, and spiritual revival.
This is the ideological core, and it directly inherits the mandate set during the Zia era. The source maintains that achieving global power requires more than just material wealth. It demands a unified and morally coherent society.
So this pillar mandates institutional efforts to ensure that ideological commitment and national cohesion.
It does. It's to ensure that the population remains united behind these very ambitious 2047 goals. The spiritual revival is viewed as the source of national resilience, allowing the nation to withstand external pressures and internal fragmentation. It's the definition of the moral component of that moral, modern, and mighty promise.
Okay, next is Pillar 2, technology and defense innovation. Here, the focus is really cutting edge, AI, space, and cyber sovereignty.
This pillar is the explicit maturation of General Musharraf's digital dawn. The source views this as the area where Pakistan must secure a decisive strategic advantage. The concept of new independence evolves into an aggressive quest for cyber sovereignty.
And this involves not just importing technology, but becoming a net producer.
A net producer and exporter of advanced tech, yes. The focus on AI, space, and cyber capabilities implies a deep commitment to ensuring that Pakistan controls its critical infrastructure and is capable of strategic engagement in the modern technological theater. It's what makes it a smarter nation.
How does the source view the strategic role of AI, specifically? Why is that so critical for 2047?
In the source's framework, AI is not just a tool, it is a strategic domain. Control over AI training data, development frameworks, and deployment is seen as far more critical than, say, traditional hardware control. The vision requires AI to streamline governance, to accelerate SIFC projects, to improve agricultural yields under Green Pakistan, and to modernize the defense sector.
So the goal is technological self-sufficiency in AI.
To prevent external dependency, which, as the source argued earlier, compromises independence.
Okay, moving to Pillar 3, economy and SIFC reforms. The focus here is on self-reliant, green, and inclusive growth.
This pillar synthesizes the economic discipline of the entire 70-year history. The goal of self-reliance connects directly back to Ayub Khan's foundational blueprints, ensuring Pakistan can sustain itself without undue external influence. The Green Mandate integrates the modern sustainability focus, while inclusive growth aims to leverage that vast, young, and newly digitized middle class that was created under Musharraf.
And the SIFC mechanism is the engine for all of this.
It's the engine responsible for delivering this growth, ensuring large-scale, coordinated investment in prioritized sectors like mining, agriculture, and industrial corridors to achieve specific, high GDP growth targets that are crucial for global power status.
So if the source has provided specific targets for economic growth by 2047, what are the key sectors that are expected to shoulder the majority of this growth?
While the source focuses more on the strategy than precise econometric data, the emphasis is clearly placed on high-value, previously untapped sectors, which are now being leveraged by SIFC. First, mineral wealth unlocking vast, underutilized reserves through large-scale protected foreign investment.
And
Second, high-tech agriculture through Green Pakistan, with the goal of transforming the nation into a global food exporter. And third, digital services and IT exports, capitalizing on that new, tech-savvy middle class. This is the path laid out to move from a developing economy to a self-sufficient, diversified industrial power.
And finally, that brings us to Pillar 4, global diplomacy and leadership. This focuses on peace through strength and strategic alliances.
This is really the foreign policy outcome of having successfully implemented the first 3 pillars. The concept of peace through strength indicates that diplomatic leverage in 2047 will be derived from demonstrated internal strength, the ideological unity, the technological superiority, and the economic self-reliance.
So this pillar involves actively leveraging existing alliances with China and the Gulf.
To project influence, yes, but also to secure leadership positions in global forums focused on faith, technology, and resilience. The goal is to ensure that Pakistan becomes a defining voice on issues of global significance, moving from just a regional power to a true global leader.
It's truly a complete integrated loop. The source summary highlights that Pakistan's generals are not just guardians of today, they are the planners of tomorrow. And these four pillars really reflect that ethos, showing a direct, intentional lineage from the past world leaders to the future strategy.
It absolutely solidifies the framework. Every strategic decision made since the early days of development is viewed through the singular lens of preparing for the 2047 centenary. The military, in this narrative, is positioned as the central, indispensable force driving this generational transformation.
By ensuring that the national direction remains constant, disciplined, and unified across all these ideological and technological pivots.
Exactly.
Okay, it's time for the synthesis. Let's bring this entire narrative thread together, summarizing the methodical progression that this source describes.
The story told here is one of careful, methodical construction built across eras. You have Field Marshal Ayub Khan providing the essential physical frame, the disciplined infrastructure, the dams, the roads, the very concept of systematic planning.
Then General Zia-ul-Haq provides the ideological mortar, the moral compass linking faith and power, establishing the purpose for the whole structure.
Then General Pervez Musharraf comes in and installs the operating system, the digital infrastructure, and the modern dynamic middle class, securing that new independence.
And finally, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir launches the Integrated National Security Architecture, the SIFC, and aggressive global alliances, which is all designed to accelerate the final phase and synthesize all the previous components.
It's a four-stage rocket, in a way.
What's fascinating here is how the military is viewed as the consistent force managing these complex ideological and technological pivots over time. The source ensures that while the methods change drastically, from dams to AI, the overarching goal of achieving global power by 2047 remains unbroken.
And the source maintains that without the continuity of that institution, one focus on long-term national interest, these dramatic shifts from moral revival to digital expansion would have derailed the country. The military is credited with ensuring that ideological firmness supports technological advancement and that economic structure underpins ideological resilience.
The ultimate goal, the century promise, is to achieve a Pakistan that is moral, modern, and mighty. And those three adjectives encapsulate the core pillars and historical contributions perfectly, don't they?
They do. Moral connects to Pillar 1 and the Zia era. Modern connects to Pillar 2 and the Musharraf era. And mighty connects to Pillar 4 and Munir, built on Ayub's foundational strength.
It's a powerful three-word synthesis of the entire vision.
It is. And for you, the listener, the final key takeaway the source emphasizes is that this journey is not based on passive hope or external dependence. It is described as a disciplined journey of faith, sacrifice, and vision. That emphasis on discipline, continuity, and strategic foresight is what the source argues elevates this from a political manifesto to a grand generational strategy.
It suggests that the future global superpower status isn't being left to chance, but is presented as the inevitable result of focused, unified strategic effort sustained across multiple generations of disciplined leadership.
Absolutely. And as we close out this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to consider, based entirely on the strategic calculus we analyzed today. Given the massive emphasis placed on merging security and economy via SIFC, and the explicit requirement to link progress to faith, as outlined in Pillar 1, creating this unified security, economic, ideological agenda, what unique challenges does the specific model present, particularly in terms of managing internal dissent or attracting investment from nations that operate under a purely secular or liberal economic model? That's something for you to mull over or explore on your own as you process the implications of Vision 2047.